So we have one more speaker for this session, is Megan Schotens, who's recently completed her master's thesis at Massey, and is going to talk on a subject related to that study, genetic evaluation of dairy sheep, a prototype model. So thank you, Megan.
Okay, hello everybody, my name is Megan Schotens. I just recently completed my Masters in Animal Science at Massey University. My supervisors, Nicholas Lopez Villalobos and Sam Peterson, helped me to develop a prototype model for genetic evaluation for dairy sheep in New Zealand. This was with the help of Kat and Andy Gunson, who commercially own and operate a dairy sheep farm in Hawke's Bay. As discussed by the previous speaker, the genetic evaluation enabled the estimation of breeding values. However, a breeding program is required to ensure that genetic gain occurs for each of these traits in the right direction. This can be achieved through a selection index. Therefore, the objective of this study was to develop a prototype selection index for dairy sheep in New Zealand. So after genetic evaluation, we get something that looks like this. You have all your animals, the age of your animals, the sex of the animals, and then the estimated breeding values for each trait for each animal. But then what do you do with this information? So genetic evaluation is used so we can identify which are the best and the worst animals, so we can select animals to be culled or breeding. But based on this, we don't know which animals are the best just looking at this. We could, however, see the positive and negative values, so we can see which animals are high producers for a particular trait, and we could rank these animals for the particular trait. However, we want to select the best animals overall. So the best way to do this is to figure out which animals are best overall, is to combine all these traits together into a selection index, and I will show you how to calculate your selection index. So the selection index can be calculated with economic values. Here I have the economic value of all the traits in the selection index. You will see that some have positive values, such as lactation length, fat yield, protein yield, milk yield, first letdown yield, and litter size. These are positive because these are the traits we wish to improve. However, some also have negative values. The somatic cell score and first letdown time have negative values because we want animals in the future to have lower somatic cell score, and we want them to have faster milking times. And then the live weight is also a negative value because we want to account for feed costs. So overall, this index is targeting to improve feed efficiency by increasing production but also maintaining animal live weight. So back to the calculation of this index. We can use these economic values with the corresponding breeding values to get a single estimate of genetic merit for that animal. So here would go the estimated breeding value for lactation length multiplied by the economic value for lactation length, so you get a value, and then you add that on, and then you go the estimated breeding value for milk yield multiplied by the economic value for milk yield, and then you go the estimated breeding value for fat yield multiplied by the economic value for fat yield, and we do this all the way through until we get one single estimate of genetic merit for the animal, which in this case is plus 85.1. So doing this for each animal will produce the dairy sheep economic breeding index, and now I'm in the position to select by sex and within age which animals will be the future rams and ewes of the flock. So this is an illustration of how to use the selection index. As you can see, the top ewe has an estimated breeding value of plus 180.5. This is because she has a high lactation length, a high estimated breeding value for milk yield, a high estimated breeding value for fat, a low somatic cell score because this is what we want, but then she also has a high live weight. And in this selection index, that negative value, that live weight, has incurred a negative value because of the feed costs. So the selection index captures the potential profit made within the high production traits, but also captures her heavy live weight and the costs associated with that. Then in comparison, we have ewe number 0821, and she only has an index value of plus 85. However, she still has high milk production and high protein yield. However, her first let down time is a positive value of 6 seconds, which also incurs a negative value. Other values which have enabled the following ewes to make it to the top 10 is the estimated breeding value for first let down yield. Even though these estimated breeding values are tiny with 0.09, the economic value for first let down yield is positive $332.30, which has a significant contribution in this index. And also these animals have negative estimated breeding values for somatic sow score, which is also desirable. So although the index can be used for identifying the top producing ewes, the best use of this index is actually for identifying and selecting the top rams to breed from. So here I have the top 10 rams on the flock based on the selection index. So here the top ram has an index value of 76.8, and they have the potential for producing progeny which have high milk yields, high fat yields, high protein, low somatic cell count, a very fast first let down time, and then other rams also ranked with the high index values based on the estimated breeding values for protein. Majority have negative somatic cell score, which is desirable, and also high first let down yield. And then further, so for this study, the economic values were derived based on relative economic weights which the farmers decided what they wanted to select for, and also used in conjunction with the genetic standard deviation of each trait. However, further research should include the calculation of the economic values with the economic index, with the economic analysis, and so that will produce the proper economic values for each of these traits. And this is my presentation.